The sea has always spoken in whispers, carrying secrets older than the stars themselves. Its waves reach the shore like a hand, stretching from a world beyond human sight. Legends say the ocean is alive, breathing through storms, calm tides, and hidden depths. Among these depths lies a throne, eternal, untouched by time, shimmering in silence. It belongs to Poseidon, ruler of waters, master of tides, guardian of all life below. Stories tell of sailors hearing his call in dreams, guided by voices of the deep. Some return with eyes full of wonder, claiming to glimpse light far beneath the flood. Others speak of music carried by shells, songs only the sea itself can sing. Atlantis, the lost city, is said to have bowed before this eternal throne of power. Yet the throne is not conquest, nor gold, but balance kept between sea and land. To listen to the ocean is to hear its memory, and perhaps Poseidon's voice. Tonight, we dive into those mysteries, following currents that lead us into legend. This is the story of the flood and the eternal throne of Poseidon. The tide moves as if it remembers, slow and steady, carrying voices from another age of the world. Each wave carries a whisper, a story written in foam and fading as it meets the shore. Long before maps were drawn, the sea was already a library, its pages alive with salt and storm. People stood at the edge of land and listened, believing the ocean spoke with the breath of gods. The name most often heard in those stories was Poseidon, lord of the shifting waters. He was not only a god of storms, but a keeper of harmony, a guardian between earth and ocean. Fishermen prayed to him not for riches, but for safety, for calm seas, for a path home. Sailors carried shells carved with his mark, holding them to their ears for guidance at night. They said the shells carried the sound of tides even when far from the coast or any shore. Every culture built near water shaped a tale of him, some fierce, some gentle, all filled with awe. Children were told that thunder at sea was Poseidon walking, his steps heavy across the waves. When lightning struck the horizon, it was said to be his trident flashing against the sky. But the deepest whispers spoke of a throne, hidden where the ocean grows silent and eternal. A throne not carved by men, but by currents, coral, and time itself, older than any empire. It was said to glow with light that does not burn, a soft radiance that bends the water around it. Those who dreamed of it often woke with eyes wet with salt, though no tears had been shed. The throne became a symbol, not of conquest, but of the sea's eternal rhythm and balance. Villages told stories by fire, passing cups of water as if to honor the god in every sip. Merchants sang songs as they crossed strange coasts, believing Poseidon followed with steady eyes. Poets wrote of tides as breathing, the sea exhaling life and inhaling the secrets of the earth. And always, behind their words, the idea of the throne remained, waiting like a promise unseen. Some said it lay in Atlantis, at the city's heart, pulsing with light until the flood took it away. Others believed it moved with the tides, never fixed, always hidden in the ocean's shifting veins. A few whispered it was not a place, but a moment, a glimpse of truth found in silence. To those who listen, the throne is always near, not seen with eyes, but felt with the soul. The sea itself is the temple, every tide a hymn, every current a prayer rising toward the sky. Poseidon's presence is in the pull of the moon, the rising flood, the calm after the storm. His throne is not only coral and pearl, but memory, power, and the endless patience of water. When the waves crash, it is not anger, but reminder, a voice saying, "Remember who I am." When the sea rests in stillness, it is grace, a gift of peace offered to those who respect it. So the whispering tides continue, carrying songs of the god and his hidden throne. Generations lean close to the water, hearing the same stories their ancestors once heard. And tonight, as we follow the sound of the waves, we step into that same ancient story. The journey begins where tide meets shore, where myth meets memory, where Poseidon waits. Atlantis has long been more than a story, more than a name carried by waves and winds across centuries. It is said to have been a city of light, rising from the sea like a jewel placed upon the horizon. Its towers shone with marble and crystal, gleaming beneath the sun as though kissed by divine hands. The streets were wide, filled with laughter, markets, and voices from every corner of the known world. But what gave Atlantis its soul was not its walls or riches, but its bond with the sea itself. Legends tell that Poseidon shaped the city with his trident, carving islands and channels with care. He placed his throne at its center, a seat of coral and pearl that pulsed with living light. The throne was said to guide the tides, ensuring harvests from both land and ocean remained abundant. It was more than a symbol of rule, it was the heartbeat of balance between mortals and the sea. Atlanteans honored it with festivals, songs, and offerings carried in shells across the waters. They believed their prosperity came not from conquest, but from the rhythm of Poseidon's blessing. Each generation taught the next that to care for the sea was to guard the throne itself. Children were told bedtime tales of dolphins bowing before its glow, guardians of sacred waters. Poets described it as a star fallen into the deep, shining without flame, eternal in silence. For many, Atlantis became proof that gods and mortals could exist not in fear, but harmony. Travelers returned from its shores with stories of wonders, their voices trembling with awe. Some spoke of gardens where fountains flowed with water clear as crystal, never touched by drought. Others swore the throne's light could be seen in the reflection of waves at night. Yet even in prosperity, whispers warned that Atlantis was too perfect, too proud, too close to gods. The sea remembers balance, and when it tilts, tides rise to restore what was forgotten. One legend claims the city fell not by anger, but by forgetting the throne's true meaning. They began to see it as treasure, not trust, as power, not harmony, as glory, not gift. And when that thought grew, the sea answered, wrapping Atlantis in waters eternal and deep. The throne sank beneath the flood, still glowing, still watching, untouched by the fall around it. To this day, sailors tell of seeing light under the surface, flickering like a heartbeat. They whisper it is the throne of Poseidon, waiting, neither lost nor broken, only hidden. Some believe it still calls to dreamers, offering visions of Atlantis as it once was. Others say it calls not to cities or kings, but to anyone who listens to the sea. The throne has become more than Atlantis, more than stone, more than coral or pearl. It is a reminder that harmony is fragile, that the sea gives and takes with equal hands. Atlantis may be gone, but its memory flows in tide and foam, carried across every shore. And perhaps when you stand near the water, you hear not just waves, but the city's song. A song of beauty, of balance, of a throne that endures in silence beneath the eternal flood. So the legend lives on, not only of a city drowned, but of a throne still waiting below. It waits not for conquest, but for reverence, not for kings, but for those who understand. Atlantis whispers through the tides, reminding us that Poseidon's throne was never lost, only hidden. The ocean does not only move with waves, It moves with whispers that reach the hearts of dreamers at night. Many tell of hearing a voice in the hush of darkness, soft as foam, calling them toward the deep. It is not the wind, nor the tide alone, but something older, something woven into the soul of water. These are the callings of the deep, said to be Poseidon's way of reaching those willing to listen. Some say it begins with a dream, where the sleeper drifts across endless seas without fear or anchor. They find themselves walking upon waves, hearing songs too delicate for any human instrument. In the distance, light flickers beneath the surface, like a beacon shining from the ocean floor. The dreamer feels drawn to it, heart racing, as though the sea itself is pulling them gently forward. When they wake, the memory clings to them like salt on skin, impossible to wash away. Such dreams are told by sailors, wanderers, and even children who have never seen the sea. The call does not choose by age or station. It comes to any heart open to its song. Fishermen say the call guides them when storms blur the horizon and erase every familiar star. They follow unseen currents, trusting the voice until safe harbors emerge from the mist. Merchants speak of nights on still waters when silence pressed heavy, broken only by the sea's whisper. They claim the sound was not threat, but comfort, a reminder of a presence watching over them. Some believe the call is the throne itself, radiating across time, seeking those who respect balance. Others think it is Poseidon's gift, a bond tying humankind to the waters they depend upon. In villages, storytellers describe how the call saved lives, warning of floods or guiding lost children. They recount moments when entire communities moved inland after hearing dreams of rising tides. And though some laughed, the floods always came, proving the whispers were not mere imagination. The call of the deep is both warning and blessing, carrying truths the sea once remembered. It is gentle but firm, like a hand resting on the shoulder of those who forget to listen. Not all who hear it understand, for the sea speaks in symbols, not in the language of men. A light beneath waves, a song of shells, a silence heavy as stone. Each has meaning to unravel. The wise treat these as riddles, patient in learning, knowing the ocean reveals slowly. The impatient ignore them, and in time, the call fades, leaving only silence and regret. Yet the throne waits, unchanged, its glow pulsing beneath the miles of shifting tide and current. Those who follow the call may never find it, yet they return changed, humbled by the sea. For the journey is not about possession, but awakening, a reminder of harmony long forgotten. The call teaches that we are guests upon the land, but children of the waters still. Every river, every drop of rain, every tear carries the memory of the ocean's endless song. To hear the call is to be reminded of origin, of beginnings before cities, before crowns. The throne is a symbol, but the voice of the deep is a bridge between then and now. And even now, in quiet nights, the call continues, weaving itself into dreams of wanderers. Perhaps tonight you too may hear it, soft, insistent, carried in the hush of tides. And when you wake, with salt upon your lips, you may wonder if Poseidon has spoken to you. The sea is vast, but it is never empty, for guardians dwell in its depths, protectors of Poseidon's throne. They are not beasts of terror, nor monsters of hunger, but keepers of balance born from the ocean's heart. Legends say dolphins were his messengers, carrying joy and guidance, leading lost sailors safely to land. Whales were his singers, their deep voices echoing like hymns that reached the throne itself. Even the smallest fish were seen as sparks of his presence, each scale shimmering like fragments of starlight. Yet beyond the natural creatures, Myths tell of beings born from coral, pearl, and moonlit water. These guardians were said to have human forms, yet with eyes reflecting the endless horizon of the sea. Their hair flowed like kelp in currents, their voices like waves rolling across an unseen shore. Some called them Nereids, daughters of the tide, gentle guides to those who honored the waters. Others spoke of Tritons, strong and noble, carrying conch shells that sounded like thunder in storms. Together they stood watch, not with weapons, but with silence, patience, and the wisdom of the deep. It was believed that they circled Poseidon's throne, ensuring that no hand reached it with greed. For the throne was not a prize to be stolen, but a covenant to be understood. Sailors swore they saw shadows move below them, not threatening, but watching, reminding them to respect. Fishermen told of nets spared by dolphins, guiding them away from taking more than the sea allowed. Merchants spoke of calm seas when whales surfaced, as if blessing the journey with their presence. Children in coastal villages grew up with tales of guardians visiting in dreams, smiling with ocean eyes. To them, these figures were not fearful, but comforting, a promise that the sea cared for them. Poets described them as the living chorus of the ocean, singing truths too deep for words. Priests said the guardians taught mortals humility, for even kings were small before the tide. And always, the throne was their charge, glowing in silence as they wove circles of protection. It is said no storm could shake them, no darkness could blind them, for they were born of water. Their strength was not in force, but in harmony, moving with currents never against them. A traveler once wrote of seeing lights under his ship, dancing like ribbons in the midnight sea. He believed it was the guardians, reminding him that Poseidon's gaze was near, watching in silence. Some legends claim the guardians test those who seek the throne, not with battles, but with questions. They ask, "Do you come for power, or for balance, for dominion, or for reverence?" Those who answer wrongly find themselves lost, carried by currents to shores unknown and far away. But those who understand awaken with new wisdom, hearing the sea as if for the first time. For the guardians do not protect by hiding, but by teaching, guiding, revealing only to the worthy. They are the bridge between mortals and the god, voices of water made flesh and song. Even now, stories say they rise from waves at twilight, walking the shore in silence. They vanish with dawn, leaving only foam as proof, a trace of mystery for dreamers to follow. The guardians remind us that the ocean is alive, not a force to conquer, but a realm to honor. And somewhere deep below, they keep their vigil, circling the throne of Poseidon with endless devotion. Their watch is eternal, as steady as tides, as patient as time, as gentle as a lullaby. For as long as the sea breathes, the guardians will remain, unseen but always present, forever faithful. The ocean is not still, for beneath its calm lies a kingdom of currents, rivers moving unseen within the sea. They twist and turn like threads of silver, weaving paths known only to the gods and the creatures who follow them. Each current holds a memory, a voice of time, carrying whispers of storms and secrets of the deep. Some say the currents are Poseidon's breath, exhaled with power, shaping the oceans with invisible hands. Others believe they are the veins of the sea, carrying life from shore to shore, binding the world together. To the ancients, they were sacred paths, unseen highways connecting continents, guiding both fish and men. Sailors feared them, for a wrong course could drag ships into endless wandering across unknown horizons. Yet those who respected them learned their rhythm, charting journeys with stars and the pull of waves. Legends say dolphins knew these roads by heart, leaping across waters like dancers on a hidden stage. Whales traveled them too, their songs guiding one another along corridors of sound and current. It is said the guardians themselves moved with these flows, unseen, riding the strength of shifting tides. And at the heart of this web was the throne, resting where currents met, a nexus of power. There, water swirled like a great spiral, a cosmic dance, feeding light into Poseidon's eternal seat. Priests told of visions and dreams where rivers of sea fire flowed into the throne, keeping it alive. They said without the currents, the throne would fade and the ocean's breath would falter in silence. Travelers spoke of strange, calm seas where currents stilled, as though the ocean paused to listen. In those moments, the world held its breath, waiting for the tide to speak again. Some stories say the currents carried not only water, but fragments of memory and forgotten prayer. When fishermen cast their nets, they swore to hear voices in the waves, blessings or warnings alike. Children on the shore held shells to their ears, believing the rushing sound was the ocean's speech. But the wise knew it was the current itself, flowing, endless, singing its ancient hymn. These flows were not chaos, but balance, guiding storms to cleanse, guiding warmth to nourish. Without them, the sea would stagnate, life would falter, and the throne would crumble to dust. The guardians, in their silent watch, ensured that no hand disturbed these sacred paths. For to command the current was to touch the breath of Poseidon, a gift only for the worthy. Myths tell of seekers who tried, calling on magic to bend the ocean's rivers to their will. But the sea answered with silence, and the seekers vanished, swept away into shadows of the deep. Those who listened, who honored the flow, found safe passage in calm seas upon their journeys. The throne itself was said to glow brighter when harmony ruled the currents, dimmer when greed prevailed. It was a mirror of the world above, reflecting the balance mortals kept with the sea. Every tide, every wave, every swell carried the weight of these unseen rivers beneath. And somewhere below, they flowed endlessly, circling, feeding, reminding, whispering their eternal vow. The vow was simple. The ocean is alive, its breath eternal, its throne unshaken. And those who walked the shore or sailed the waves were but guests in its endless home. To know the throne was to know the currents, to hear their song, and to walk in their rhythm. For they were not chains, but pathways, guiding not by force, but by wisdom, like the sea itself. Thus, the throne remained, not because of stone or pearl, but because the ocean never ceased to move. And as long as the currents flow, Poseidon's throne will stand, luminous, eternal, alive with the sea. The throne of Poseidon was not built by mortal hands, for no chisel or hammer could shape the sea. It was born from the ocean itself, rising where light and depth met, a crown forged by time and tide. Legends claim the first wave carried fragments of pearl and coral, weaving them into a seat of wonder. Others say it was made from the bones of stars, fallen into the deep, glowing with eternal fire. Some whispered that the throne was living, pulsing like a heart, bound to the breath of the ocean. Its surface shimmered like moonlight on water, always shifting, never still, yet unbroken in form. It was both stone and wave, both solid and fluid, a paradox only gods could understand. Priests told stories of how Poseidon first touched it, and the sea itself bent in reverence. Every tide since was seen as an echo of that moment, a bowing of water to its king. The throne did not rest on sand or rock, but floated, suspended in currents like a star in sky. It radiated calm, yet carried the power to stir storms with a single thought. No mortal eye could hold its full form, for it changed with each gaze, reflecting the viewer's soul. To the humble, it gleamed with kindness, a beacon of safety, a harbor for wandering hearts. To the greedy, it loomed with shadows, a warning of depths that could swallow kingdoms whole. It was said the throne could hear, listening to prayers carried by waves, whispers offered by the wind. The ocean itself was its voice, answering in tides, in storms, in the silence of still seas. Fishermen prayed to it before casting nets, offering shells or drops of wine upon the waves. Travelers spoke of dreams where they glimpsed it, glowing like a beacon in an endless dark. Some woke with peace, as if the sea itself had promised to carry them safely home. Others woke with dread, feeling the weight of judgment, as though the throne had seen their secrets. The throne was not a treasure, but a mirror, reflecting balance or greed in those who sought it. Guardians circled it in silence, their presence more felt than seen, like shadows in the deep. They did not guard with violence, but with truth, revealing the unworthy by showing them themselves. Many seekers had come, chasing glory, believing the throne was a prize to be claimed. Yet they vanished, swallowed by currents, carried to forgotten places where the sea erased all trace. Those who approached with reverence, however, often returned with stories of visions and newfound wisdom. They spoke of hearing the ocean sing, of feeling themselves small, yet part of something infinite. The throne's glow was said to shift with these encounters, brighter with harmony, dimmer with arrogance. In villages, elders told children that the throne was the heart of the sea, beating forever. Without it, they said, the waves would fall silent, the fish would vanish, the tide would die. It was more than a seat. It was a covenant, binding mortals and gods in respect of the sea. Even storms, they believed, were not anger, but reminders of the throne's eternal power and care. The throne stood not as a weapon, but as balance, a promise that the ocean would endure. It was eternal not because it was indestructible, but because it was alive, part of the sea's breath. And as long as water moved, as long as waves kissed the shore, the throne would remain. For it was not only Poseidon's seat, but the symbol of the ocean's eternal soul. Those who heard its story carried with them awe, fear, and love for the sea's endless mystery. And so, the throne remained hidden yet present, glowing in silence, waiting, eternal in its watch. The sea has always been a mirror of the sky, reflecting its storms, its calm, its endless horizon of mystery. Sailors often said that when they looked long enough at the waves, they felt the heavens looking back. The throne of Poseidon was bound to this reflection, a bridge between the deep ocean and the wide sky. Legends told that stars themselves had once fallen into the sea, their fire resting near the throne forever. Some said these stars became pearls, glowing faintly within its frame, giving it a light no shadow could dim. Others believed comets struck the water, their fire captured in waves, their memory woven into the seat. Whatever the truth, the throne glowed not only with ocean's breath, but also with sky's eternal flame. It shimmered in hues of dawn, gold and rose, then shifted into silver and blue as night arrived. When storms brewed, lightning crowned it, not as a threat, but as a sign of its union with the sky. Priests believed thunder was not anger, but greeting, sky and sea speaking in voices only gods understood. Sailors swore they saw stars reflected in the throne, even during darkest nights, as if it held the heavens. Some stories claimed the Milky Way itself was a river flowing above, twin to the ocean below. Together, they circled the earth, two halves of one eternal path, mirrored in throne's glowing surface. The guardians, too, were said to understand this bond, moving in silence when stars shone brightest. They guided travelers by night, using constellations as maps, the throne as their compass of power. It was believed that when the throne glowed brighter than the stars, storms would pass and seas calm. But when its glow dimmed, sailors prepared for trial, knowing the balance of sky and sea trembled. Villagers on cliffs told of nights where sky and water seemed to merge, horizon vanishing into silver. Children whispered it was the throne rising, bridging sea and sky, opening a gate between realms. In myths, heroes who saw this sight dreamed of journeys not across waves, but across stars themselves. They awoke with eyes full of wonder, speaking of voices in the wind, urging them to live with awe. Some poets said the throne was not just stone or pearl, but a fragment of the cosmos itself. It carried in its glow the reminder that ocean and sky were one breath, one rhythm, one eternal heart. Those who sought power alone never saw this union, for greed blinds the soul to harmony's light. But those who listened in silence, who let waves and stars speak, felt the throne as part of themselves. It was not a gift to be taken, but a truth to be shared, a song without end. Every star reflected in the waves was a message, every tide a reply, a conversation between realms. The throne stood as witness, carrying both voices, never favoring one, but balancing them forever. Priests taught that Poseidon himself sat not as ruler, but as listener, between sky's fire and sea's flow. His throne was not command, but connection, the point where all elements met and bowed in silence. Even now, when we look at the ocean under starlight, we glimpse a shadow of that eternal truth. We see in the shimmer of waves a fragment of the throne, glowing with union of sky and sea. And deep below, it waits, forever luminous, holding both the breath of water and the fire of stars. For as long as waves kiss the shore and constellations crown the night, the throne will remain. It is eternal not only in sea's heart, but in sky's embrace, alive in balance, alive in light. There are places in the ocean where time seems to rest, where silence is deeper than any mortal breath. These are the hidden sanctuaries of the sea, secret realms where the throne's light touches the farthest depths. Legends call them the halls of still water, where currents pause and the sea becomes a mirror of eternity. It is said the guardians retreat there when storms rage, keeping the throne's memory alive in silence. Some describe vast caverns of crystal coral, glowing faintly with a blue fire born from the throne itself. Others speak of gardens of kelp taller than towers, swaying like cathedrals under a roof of endless waves. Whales sing of these places in their deep songs, carrying maps of hidden sanctuaries across oceans. Sailors claim that those who drift near them feel calm, as if the sea itself wraps them in a lullaby. No storms cross these sanctuaries, no violence touches them, for they are shielded by Poseidon's own breath. Here, fish swim without fear, dolphins leap in joy, and the silence is filled with living harmony. Myths say the throne's glow extends like veins of light, feeding these sanctuaries as a heart feeds a body. Without them, the sea would be wild, a chaos without rest, a song without rhythm or pause. Priests believed that Poseidon created them not as fortresses, but as places of memory and renewal. They were the ocean's libraries, where every wave, every storm, every tide left its story in the stillness. Travelers who claimed to glimpse these halls spoke of visions, dreams unfolding like waves against the soul. Some saw their ancestors smiling, others felt burdens lifted, as though the sea itself forgave their mistakes. Children were told that if they listened to shells, they could hear echoes from these hidden sanctuaries. Not just the rush of waves, but whispers of peace, voices older than the stars above. The sanctuaries remind us that even the mightiest sea needs silence. Even the strongest tide needs pause. The guardians walked there not as warriors, but as keepers of calm, protecting the throne through peace. They did not wield conch or coral staff, but carried only silence, teaching by presence and stillness. Some say Poseidon himself sat there when the world was young, shaping waves from quiet, storms from rest. The throne was born from this balance, a harmony between motion and silence, between chaos and peace. To approach the throne without knowing these sanctuaries was to miss its heart, its deepest truth. For the throne was not power alone, but rhythm, the breath of the sea in balance with itself. Even now, whispers say the sanctuaries remain, hidden beneath shifting waves, waiting for seekers of calm. Divers who wander too deep sometimes return with eyes full of wonder, speaking of glowing gardens. They tell of waters so clear they seem to float in air, of fish moving like stars in slow dance. Others never speak again, keeping the memory as a secret between themselves and the sea. Perhaps the sanctuaries are not meant for all, but only for those who listen with silence. For silence is a language, as deep and old as waves, and only silence can open these halls. The throne itself is part of this truth, glowing not in noise, but in quiet, steady radiance. It shines not to blind, but to remind that power lies not in storms alone, but in still waters. And so the sea keeps its sanctuaries, unseen, untouched, eternal, as part of the throne's endless promise. A promise that the ocean is not just force, but peace, not just chaos, but balance eternal. For as long as the sea breathes, these sanctuaries will remain, hidden yet alive, glowing in silence. Beneath the shifting tides, there are songs older than memory, carried by currents like whispers through the deep. They are not sung by human voices, but by the sea itself, flowing through creatures, shells, and hidden stones. The ancients called them the hymns of the flood, songs that bound ocean and throne into one eternal rhythm. Some say the first hymn rose when Poseidon touched the waters, shaping silence into waves and calm into tide. Each hymn tells a truth, not in words, but in feeling, guiding hearts to understand the throne's sacred balance. Fishermen once claimed they heard it at dawn, when mist kissed the sea, like a lullaby beneath the wind. Sailors swore the hymns rose during storms, voices within thunder, reminding all that chaos was not endless. Whales carry fragments of these hymns in their songs, each note echoing the deep memory of the ocean. Children on the shores held shells to their ears, believing the sea gifted them pieces of forgotten hymns. The guardians of the throne were keepers of these songs, teaching that the hymns were bridges to the divine. Priests in ancient harbors sang in imitation, but the true hymns could only be heard by listening to silence. Silence, then wave, then silence again, like breath, like heartbeat, like the rhythm of a world alive. The hymns were not commands, but invitations, calling those who heard to walk gently with the sea. One hymn spoke of stillness, teaching that storms would pass, as all anger must dissolve into calm again. Another sang of depth, reminding mortals that truth lies hidden, waiting in the quiet places of the soul. A third was joy, rising like dolphins leaping, a reminder that the sea was not only vast, but playful. These hymns shaped the throne as much as coral and pearl, weaving balance into its shining core. It was said Poseidon himself listened to them, not as a king, but as a student of the sea. For even the ruler of waves was bound by their harmony, a servant to balance as much as its keeper. Travelers who followed the hymns often found safety, storms parting, waves guiding them gently toward their homes. Yet those who ignored the hymns, who took without respect, found the sea cold, its silence heavy with warning. The throne's power was not built on force, but on these hymns, a chorus of peace and eternal rhythm. In temples of stone by the coast, poets carved lines to echo what little they remembered of the hymns. They spoke of water as memory, of tide as breath, of silence as the truest song of all. Divers who sank deep in meditation claimed the hymns touched their hearts like warmth, healing old wounds unseen. Some awoke with visions of light beneath waves, the throne glowing as though singing with the sea. These hymns carried no threat, no command, no chain, only a truth. The ocean is alive with memory. It was said that to sit upon the eternal throne, one must hear the hymns not with ears, but with soul. The throne would not yield to greed or hunger, but only to one who listened and became part of its song. For the hymns are not history, but living, breathing tides, forever flowing, forever returning, forever whole. Even now, on nights when the moon rests low and the wind falls quiet, the hymns return to the surface. Some say they are the sea's gift, a reminder that the throne is not lost, but waiting, glowing in rhythm. And so, the hymns of the flood remain, unseen yet eternal, the heartbeat of Poseidon's throne beneath the waves. In the lore of the deep, there is a tale of mirrors, not of glass, but of living water shaped by time. They are the mirrors of the tide, places where sea and sky meet so perfectly that boundaries vanish into light. Sailors who stumbled upon them swore the water showed more than reflection. It revealed what the heart concealed. Some saw lost loved ones smiling. Others saw fears rising like shadows across the shining surface. The ancients taught that the throne gifted these mirrors, so mortals might face themselves before facing the sea. To see the mirrors was not rare, but to endure them was, for they demanded honesty deeper than words. A fisherman once looked and saw his greed, nets heavy with more than he needed, and he wept by the shore. A queen saw her pride towering above her fleet, and the mirror's tide broke the illusion with a single wave. These mirrors did not punish, but reminded, showing that the sea reflects truth whether we wish it or not. The guardians spoke of them as teachers, not enemies, guiding mortals to walk gently and without deception. Some say even Poseidon looked into the mirrors when storms shook his heart, seeking balance through their quiet light. For no ruler, no god, no mortal could escape their lesson. The sea remembers, and the sea reveals. The mirrors of the tide shimmered at dawn, when sunlight bent upon waves, blurring horizon with a breath of gold. At night, under a full moon, they glowed silver, vast fields of light rolling like stars across the water. Travelers described stepping into them as walking into another world, their bodies dissolving into pure reflection. In those moments, the throne's wisdom was near, whispering not through voice, but through image and feeling. Some saw Atlantis whole, shining with towers of pearl, before it sank beneath the flood of its own pride. Others glimpsed the throne itself, glowing with harmony as if the mirrors were windows into eternity. It was said that those who passed through the mirrors with open hearts carried peace upon their return. They became kinder, gentler, as though they had left burdens behind within the tide's silent embrace. But those who resisted, who fought against what was revealed, returned restless, their hearts heavy as stone. The sea does not force, but it reflects, and the mirrors were its most tender yet unyielding truth. The priests of the shore told seekers to close their eyes and breathe, to let the mirrors speak without fear. For fear clouded the vision, while courage opened it, and only with courage could the throne's truth be seen. Many stories tell of children who laughed upon the mirror, their innocence showing only joy in the waves. Their laughter reminded elders that the sea is not only test, but also play, reflection of light as well as shadow. Even now, on clear mornings, fishermen say the sea lies flat as glass and mirrors the soul of the watcher. Tourists on distant coasts may think it only calm water, but those who listen feel the throne's echo in it. For the throne was never about ruling through fear, but about harmony, a mirror itself between sea and land. The mirrors of the tide stand as reminders that before we seek the throne, we must first face ourselves, not in power, not in conquest, but in truth. For truth is the current that carries us to Poseidon's realm. And so the sea keeps them, eternal, fleeting, reflections of eternity rippling softly beneath moon and sun. The sea has no end, only tides, only rhythms that return again as stories within its endless song. The throne of Poseidon, eternal and glowing, is not lost, but hidden, waiting where silence meets the deep. Its light does not command, but guides, like the moon upon the tide, steady and patient across the ages. Those who listen to the sea hear its truth. Power is not conquest, but balance between motion and stillness. The flood is not a punishment, but a reminder that water carries memory, shaping the world through rhythm. Every storm, every calm, every wave speaks of the throne, whispering the song Poseidon gave to the sea. Legends are not chains, they are currents, carrying us toward understanding if we dare to listen to them. Atlantis rose and fell, yet its echo remains, not in ruins, but in the hymns sung by the ocean itself. The guardians keep their watch, unseen but present, walking sanctuaries of silence where the throne's glow endures. They are reminders that the throne is not gold or pearl, but harmony woven into the heartbeat of the sea. Each reflection upon the waves is a mirror, asking us to see truth before seeking the mysteries below. Each hymn within the tide is a breath, asking us to walk gently, to live in rhythm with the ocean. The throne cannot be claimed by greed, nor broken by storms, for it belongs to balance, not to conquest. Poseidon's voice is not thunder alone, but calm, not force alone, but silence that heals and teaches. Perhaps the greatest secret of the throne is this: it is not apart from us, but within us always. When we breathe in rhythm with the tide, when we walk gently upon the earth, we touch its light. The eternal throne is not hidden in some far abyss, but present wherever the sea meets the shore. It is in the laughter of children by the water, in the songs of whales, in the calm of dawn. It shines in silence, reminding us that life is not measured by conquest, but by harmony with all things. Even now, as the moon rises and the tide returns, the throne glows beneath the waves, eternal and whole, not waiting for a ruler, but for listeners, not calling for power, but for those who seek balance. The flood will always come and go, but it is not destruction, it is renewal, the sea's eternal breath. To remember the throne is to remember ourselves, to know that we are part of this endless rhythm. The ocean carries our stories as it carries storms, never ending, always returning, glowing with memory. So the legend does not end here. It flows, it shifts, it continues like tide upon an endless shore. The eternal throne of Poseidon is not a crown to wear, but a song to hear, a light to follow. And as long as waves touch the land, as long as tides rise and fall, the throne remains unbroken. It is not lost, not forgotten, but alive in every whisper of the sea, waiting for those who listen. For the sea belongs to none, and yet it belongs to all, as does the throne, eternal, within the flood. This is not an ending, but a beginning. Another tide, another story, carried forever by the ocean's song.